Okay, so right now is a pretty interesting time in the world of wireless noise canceling earbuds because both Apple and Bose just released their latest iterations of their flagship models, and I feel like it's kind of rare for the releases to line up so close to each other. But of course, that begs the question, which one is the best for you? So today in this video, we'll be comparing the brand new AirPods Pro 3 and the Bose Quiet Comfort Ultra Gen 2s, and because no ANC earbud comparison would be complete without the Sonys, we'll throw in the WF-1000XM5s as well. A little older, but they're still the newest versions, and I think anyone looking at the AirPods and the Bose are going to be considering the Sonys as well. Also, before we get into this, I bought the AirPods and the Bose with my own money. The Sonys were given to me by Sony a while back when these first came out, but they have no idea I'm making this and they aren't going to see this footage before it's posted on YouTube. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get into it. So where I usually like to start with earbuds is actually the cases, because it's one of those areas that I think just doesn't get enough attention. The whole point of earbuds are to be portable, and if the carry experience sucks, you're gonna end up leaving them at home where they're no good to you whatsoever. And immediately looking at these three cases, you can see that one of these is not like the other. The Bose are almost twice the size of the other two, which makes throwing this into a pocket significantly more awkward. This is basically the exact same size as the case that they used last year, and I really wish they did something to make it more compact because it seems like everyone else has figured it out. Now, between the AirPods and the Sony's cases though, the Sony's are a bit smaller overall in footprint, but it is thicker. And they have this matte finish that makes slipping it in and out of small pockets less smooth than the glossy finish and rounded corners on the AirPods. So if you couldn't tell already, the AirPods Pro 3 have my favorite case, and it's not just because of the form factor. They have little features like being compatible with MagSafe chargers and a place to put a lanyard, but most of all, they have a built-in speaker that is really useful for if you misplace these. You just go into the Find My app and tell it to play a sound. Not something I use every day, but when I need it, it's a lifesaver. And on top of that, it just feels the nicest. It has this metal hinge and a really satisfying snap every time you open and close it. Moving on to the buds themselves, one of the first things that I look for is fit and comfort, because if you can't keep these in your ear, nothing else about them really matters. And in this area, the AirPods are by far the best for me. They just fit my ears the best, and what I really like is the actual bud part that goes into your ear is the smallest and disturbs your ear anatomy the least. This was true even with the last version, but with the version 3, they tweaked the shape a little bit and it fits my ears even better than before, which is seriously impressive. On the other hand, the worst for me were the Sonys, mainly because they just feel the biggest in my ear. Like it's pushing my cartilage out of the way and it's just a really unpleasant feeling. I also really don't like how they come stock with foam ear tips. The AirPods also have a new hybrid foam rubber ear tip, but honestly, if no one told me, I would just think they're straight silicone. The idea is you put them in your ear, then the foam expands to give you a perfect seal. But what I actually found is that out of these three, it was actually the hardest to get a good seal with the Sonys. And the expanding foam tips give a really uncomfortable pressure sensation that I'm just not a fan of. Also, as a side note, I found the Sonys to be weirdly hard to get out of the case. Like the sides are glossy and curved in a way that makes it really easy for my fingers to slip off. I don't know if I would have noticed that, but in my testing, I switched between these dozens of times and I was like, man, why are these so hard to get out? I'm sure it's something you could get used to, but for me, that was just a really annoying pain point having to switch these in and out so many times. But anyways, yeah, the Sonys just did not really work for me in the fit department. Not to say that they would fall out, they were relatively secure, but they were just kind of uncomfortable. Bose were kind of in the middle for me, not as good as the AirPods, but better than the Sonys. Fairly comfortable, but again, I could definitely feel the extra size of the buds in my ears. And in terms of the security of the fit, I felt like all of them did the job just fine. None of them felt like they were going to fall out of my ears spontaneously, but the AirPods did give me the most confidence. And of course, all of that fit and comfort stuff is with the caveat that everybody's ears are different and your experience could be different from mine, but that's just how it played out for me. Now, onto the juicier section, let's talk about sound. And I just gotta say right off the bat that we have really come a long way. Like, I think all three of these sound great and you can't really go wrong with any of these. But that also doesn't mean they sound the same. Each one of these has a distinct sound, and depending on your preferences, you may like one over the other. For me, the one that I enjoyed listening to the most were the Bose. They have the best bass response, just giving you a richer, fuller sound overall compared to the other two, but it does come at the cost of some vocal clarity. But I think it is controlled enough not to detract from the experience too much. The AirPods would be my second choice, definitely the most mid-forward and the weakest bass response out of the three, but I found the way that it reproduced vocals and music just to be the best and most pleasant out of the three. And the Sonys would be my last choice out of the three for sound, but that doesn't mean it sounds bad. Like, I would say that they have the most balanced sound, which sounds like a good thing, but it's almost in a way that it's kind of mediocre at everything, while the other two really excel in their respective strengths. Overall though, it is very close though, and I would be happy with any of these for sound, but that's just how I would rank them personally. In terms of noise cancellation, again, all three of these are fantastic. You'll have no problem getting rid of the sound of an airplane engine or cafe noises, but if we're gonna be putting these head to head, which we are, the Bose are definitely in a class of their own. And I would tie the AirPods and the Sony for second place. Basically, how I tested these was I played airplane and cafe noises on YouTube and switched between the three. And after doing that for a few rounds, consistently the Bose were noticeably better. Not a huge difference. Like, if I had to quantify it, I would say it would be maybe like 10 to 15% better than the Sonys and the AirPods. But on a practical level, it actually does make a bit of a difference. Like, in my garage gym, I have this 24-inch fan that is really loud. And I noticed that when I was wearing the Bose, I didn't have to turn up my music or my content quite as high for me to not be able to hear it. On the other hand, for transparency mode, the AirPods are once again by far and away the best. And this time it's not really close. In terms of clarity, they're actually only a little bit better, but with both the Bose and the Sony, there's this really strong static noise that would honestly kind of drive me nuts if I had to listen to it for more than a few minutes. The AirPods transparency mode definitely sounds the closest to real life and the closest to like just not having earbuds in, and don't have that annoying static sound, so I wouldn't have a problem keeping them in for a longer period of time. Now, moving on to what I'll call usability factors, these all have media controls, so you don't need to be pulling out your phone all the time. And I gotta say, in this area, the AirPods are still my favorite, because one, they're the best at limiting accidental presses, and two, the operation is smoothest when you do want to use them. We've basically got these pressure sensitive pads on the stem that you can use to play, pause, and swipe up and down to adjust the volume. And the fact that you need a finger on both sides to activate the touch controls means that you'll basically never accidentally pause your music when you didn't mean to. With the other two, we have touch sensitive pads on the buds that are basically impossible to avoid when you adjust the earbuds in any way. And also the way that you have to tap the earbuds makes it so it feels like you're ramming them deeper and deeper into your ears every time you tap. And it's just a really unpleasant experience, especially when you compare them to the way that the AirPods do it. Battery life is also really impressive with all these, with both the AirPods and the Sonys getting 8 hours of continuous playback and the Bose getting 6. To me, honestly, this isn't that big of a deal, because even though I find these to be comfortable for the most part, I really don't think I can keep any of these in my ear for longer than like 2 or 3 hours at a time before I start to get pretty uncomfortable. So any battery life beyond that isn't really that big of a deal to me. Plus, if you're going to be using these for a long flight or something like that, these all have a quick charge feature that you can just pop these in the case for a few minutes and get a few hours of playtime back. So if you really do care about battery life, then the numbers are there, but for me, they're all good enough that it's really a non-issue and it wouldn't really be a deciding factor for me. At the end of the day, I'm sure you're wondering which one of these are the best and which one I would recommend. And as always, the answer to that really depends on how you use earbuds and what you value. For me, if I could only have one of these, it would hands down be the AirPods Pro. The only parts that these are really missing out on are the strength of the noise cancellation and maybe a little bit of audio quality. And even in those areas, it's not that far behind. But in the area areas where they really shine, comfort, transparency mode, and usability, they really shine. And plus, if you're an Apple user, you get a bunch of additional benefits like multi-point connection, where they automatically switch between your devices, which is something that I use multiple times a day, every day. If I wasn't so deep in the Apple ecosystem though, my second choice would probably be the Sonys, which you might be surprised to hear about because I honestly like using the Bose more, but the problem with the Bose are that they're just way too big. In any situation which I wouldn't bring a bag with me, they're not really usable at all. Like, I would just have to leave them behind at home, which is kind of a deal breaker for me. Like, I think if you can have two, like a smaller one for going out and like a bigger one for when you can carry a bag with you, then the Bose are a great addition. But as an only earbud, I don't think the Bose would work for me. But those are my thoughts. Hopefully this video was helpful in making a decision for you. Let me know in the comments which ones you're going to go for. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.